What's good, people? It's your boy, Uncle Fred, back in the house, back in the saddle. There's a couple things. I know it's late. People might want to catch this in the mornings, but it's Friday night, man. Y'all might want to check me out and before you go to bed. You know, you probably got some stuff going on tomorrow, Saturday. But we're just gonna talk about a couple things. Right off the top of the thing, Dan Quinn gone. Um, Took the sixth job that he got interviewed for. We're gonna talk about that and where that leaves us. Um, just poor planning on that. Where that leaves us. Uh, we we see we are the wow. Can't read my own writing. Oh yeah, we are a raggedy ran franchise. And I'm going to tell you why. And there's about 5 reasons why we're a raggedy ran franchise. And I'm going to show you how other teams have done in the same position. We're going to look at Seattle and we're going to look at New Orleans and stuff like that. We're going to look at that. So we are so reactive, never proactive. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about what we plan to see or what I'm expecting to see if we are all in, like Jerry says. And there's a litmus test that tells us if we're all in. And we're going to talk about that and plus a whole lot more. Y'all just hang tight with your boy. We'll be right back.
Two times on the beat, bitch.
Again, what's good, people? It's Uncle Fred. Welcome to the Uncle Fred Rants YouTube channel. I am Uncle Fred, obviously. And thank you all for those who might be joining with me here tonight. If you ain't got nothing, I guess you ain't got nothing going on because it's a Saturday night, Friday night, and you watching me. But, that's all right, man. It's all right. I just got off work and had to put my little stuff together here. We're gonna talk about a few things. So I would have came on last night, but I was like, no, let me get some stuff together and see how this thing off all these dominoes fall. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe, become a part of the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. Guarantee you will not be disappointed. Okay. So about 11 o'clock yesterday, I think 11:15, we get the breaking news. Dun, dun, dun. I got to get me some sound bites, man. I got to get me some sound bites. That's one of the things I'm gonna start doing once I get this thing going and start become monetized. I'm gonna start putting some stuff in. I gotta get me some sound bites. I gotta get me a breaking news sound bite. We get a breaking news. Dan Quinn is selected for the Washington Commanders job, and I'm sitting there like, whoa, because we just knew it was going to be Ben Johnson, right? And then Ben decided to stay for one reason or another. Maybe Washington wasn't giving him enough money. Maybe just like what was it? Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe they said we had unfinished business. So maybe he felt like, look, man, we got a team good enough to win us a Super Bowl. And let me enjoy that before I go 4-13 for a couple of years while we're building this thing. I don't know. But he didn't take the job. And so I'm thinking it's going to probably be I didn't know who it was going to be because the thing had whittled down. Anthony Weaver, I think he's from Baltimore. There was a couple of dudes, man. And I was thinking, I said, now, if Seattle done took Mike McDonald, I thought Quinn was SOL. You know what SOL means. I'm not even saying what that means. And so we find out he took the job, and none of the details in terms of the terms of the deal was disclosed at the time. But we know he gets that job. And look, maybe he knew that the handwriting was on the wall here in Dallas, because it's like, you know, after that Green Bay debacle, you know, Dan Quinn's name was Mud in the DFW. His name was Mud, right? And so, and he knew that Mike McCarthy is on a 1-year deal. They probably weren't going to extend him. So it's like, look, man, I got an opportunity to get myself in a, and usually a situation like what he's in with Washington, with a whole new, uh, not a new franchise, but a new ownership group, new management group. And you got a whole bunch of salary cap money. You got about five. You got about 9, 8 picks, 6 picks in the first 100 draft picks. You got the number 2 overall pick in the draft, and like I said, and you're gonna probably draft you a quarterback that's gonna buy you 2-3 years. So you at least got you 3-4 years where you can either make it or break it, as opposed to coming back to us and got 1 year and you might have to hit the bricks. Now, there was a time when Dan Quinn was thought to be, well, Mike Stumble, Dan Quinn will slide right in there. But after that Green Bay debacle, he's like, his name became Mud. But anyway, but here's the thing. And the thing that made me upset about it is because Dan Quinn got the very last job that was available. You know how many times he interviewed for this job? You know how many times he interviewed for the Seattle job? How many times he interviewed for the Tennessee job? All those other jobs, This has been several weeks process. This was going on way before we went on and got on in the playoff game, right? Because I believe he met with the Washington Commanders the day after we beat them the last game of the season. Okay? I think since he was in Washington, why not meet with them? I'm sure he did, right? And then he met with all these other teams. Now, first of all, before I get into that, I'm going to say this, because everybody's kind of beating up on Dan Quinn, and for some good reason, because there's some good things about Dan Quinn. Stand-up dude, leader of men. Everybody that's played for him loves the heck out of him. I get all that, right? And he did some great things for us at Dallas, okay, and us. I mean, I don't play for them. I mean, that's not my team. It's just a team I root for. But he did some good things for Dallas, okay? And sometimes we get this recency bias thing where we take the last thing somebody did, and that makes the lasting impression, right? We forget that in 2020, we had the laughing stock in the NFL, okay? We was giving up 200-yard rushing games like people just changed their draws, okay? Every time I looked up, man, there was people missing tackles, people not knowing who to tackle, not knowing who had who, looking at each other. I thought that was your dude. Dudes running into the end zone. We were a laughing stock, you know. Mike Nolan. That's all the Mike Nolan. Wasn't that he was running a bad defense. It was just as a defense that we weren't accustomed to playing, and they tried to put it all together via Zoom meetings, because we was on that CV-19 restrictions at that time, if y'all remember. So you're trying to install a whole new defense. You got 4 or 5 new players, because I think they had Everson Griffith, Clinton Dix, and there was another defensive lineman, I can't think of his name right now, that played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His name will come to me in a minute. But we had a whole bunch of new parts, new pieces that were being added. And then you're trying to implement all of that stuff. That's a good idea. Maybe he didn't. Good to have you on, Roland. Join me at this late at night, man. Appreciate that, man. But here's the thing. Dan Quinn took us from a laughing stock and made us a respectable defense. And by respectable, we would finish in the top 5 in yardage and scoring defense. And then there was an attitude that he brought to us that kind of made us where we could get turnovers. As a matter of fact, in the year 2021 and 22, we led the league in turnovers. I think we got over 30 turnovers both years. I think like 37 and 35 or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere in that time frame or that number range. And I think this year we're in the top 7 or top 8 or whatever. So, but it was sort of fool's gold, if you will, because some of his defenses were sort of quirky and we thought it was cute bringing small guys in, making them, because he brought in Keanu Neal, turned him into like a safety, turned him into a linebacker / safety. Then it didn't stop there. It went from there to KZ and some other dudes, Jaron Curse, and just turned them into these hybrid safety thing, which was cool. It was something nobody else was really doing. And like I said, it made it where we was able to get turnovers. We were flying to the ball. We were stripping the balls out. That's a science. That don't just come to you, right? But what I thought it did, it masked some inefficiencies. Some like, well, we couldn't cover well. We weren't filling gaps well and other things, fundamental things, because we found out in them 51 games, and how I came up with 51 was because he coached us 3 years at 17 games apiece. 17 times 3, 51. You can check my math on that. 12 of those games, we didn't get a turnover. Okay. So that's like 39 games we got turnovers, and 12 games we didn't. 39 and 12 is 51 last time I checked. In them 12 games, we were 3-9 when we didn't get turnovers. And I think in the whole, 1, 2, 3, 4 playoff games that he coached, I think we got like 2 turnovers. Largely because when you're playing in the playoffs, number one, you're playing better teams, playing better coach teams usually take better care of the football in the playoffs than they do in the regular season. You just do. Okay. So, but here's the thing. We had a respectable defense, but over time, like the little gimmick stuff he was doing, over time, people start figuring things out. People start watching film. Offensive coordinators start figuring out, okay, there's certain things that work against that. You might catch folks slipping for a year or two until they kind of, get some film on some things. And you notice this year, things slipped a little bit, even though we had more talent on defense. We had better corners this year than we had any year that he's been there. Okay? But our defense wasn't as good. Okay? Yeah, you got Gilmore and Deron Bland. That's a better cornerback tandem than any time other 2 years we was there. But we couldn't seem to cover as well in certain situations. Okay? But it's because teams figured out certain things. And there's a certain coaching tree that we always seem to have problems with. And that leads to my next point on this. My next point. But here's my point and how this pissed me off with the Cowboys. It pissed me off because we allowed Dan Quinn to hold us hostage for 2-3 weeks. Okay? Fred, what do you think of my example? I'm getting to that, Roland. I'm getting to that because I'm gonna talk about the guys that I think that they'll replace him with. I'm gonna get to that, man. You got to let me stay on course here because there's a certain way I got to build this thing. If I put something out of place here, all the whole stack of cards will fall down. But here's the thing. Now, while Jerry is in Mobile flapping his gums, because there's no reason for him to be there, okay? I'm sorry. There's really no reason for him to be there. You're an 81-year-old owner. What do you know about, what it is that you're watching? Those things are for the coaches, the draft scouts, and things of that nature. That's what they're for, okay? It leads me to believe you went there to flap your gums and whatnot. And what you should have been doing, because all this happened while you was there, you should have been back in Dallas making some phone calls or having the staff which he could have been doing, while he was there. He don't have to actually physically be there to do that. But I'm pretty sure that what he was on his agenda to do. He was holding court. And while he's up there holding court, Dan Quinn's taking the job in Washington. Okay? Now, why that's a problem? It's a problem because you didn't prepare as though Dan Quinn was leaving. Okay. You were playing Motel 6. What do you mean, Uncle Fred? You know, Motel 6 will leave the light on for you. They was leaving the light on for Dan Quinn, meaning like, oh, go on and play, run behind your dreams and whatnot. And this job will be waiting here for you when you get back. I want to ask y'all, what multi-billion-dollar corporation operates like that? I'll wait. Because they don't. Because I guarantee you, in the Jerry Jones that built that $3.5-4 billion Taj Mahal that is called AT&T Stadium, I guarantee you that they didn't hold that job until one of the foremans could get back from a tour of duty. Hey, you know, go do this, and we'll just stop the job until you get back. I guarantee you he didn't, because we got a schedule to keep. This is a multi-billion-dollar operation. We can't hold the fort up for, you know, because you want to. We'll just get us somebody. Appreciate you. We appreciate you. All that you've done for us, and you deserve to have you a head coaching job. Now we're gonna interview us and make some phone calls to some head coach, some DC candidates to line them things up so they'll be ready in the event you get the job. We'll have them ready. But instead, we waited until he got the job. Now we trying to call, and you know what that ends up doing? Now all the good candidates are picked over. You know, Damon Robinson, the linebackers coach from I think he was the passing game coach or whatever from Baltimore, ended up being a DC at Tennessee. And you would probably want one of those guys because that Baltimore defense seems to have figured out a way to kind of stop that Kyle Shanahan tree that we got problems with. Okay? Or the Orr guy that they promoted to DC and Baltimore after Mike McDonald left. You might want to have taken a busted a phone call to him, because anybody in that tree of coaches seem to be on the same page, because all the Kyle Shanahan teams that they played, they shut that down. Okay? We were like this and didn't know where the stuff was coming from. That's a guy I would have hired. But instead, all them guys got hired, and we got I guess we might gonna bust a phone call to Ron Rivera. Look, man, I ain't got no problem with Ron Rivera. I think he's a quality man. I think he's a good dude. I think people love playing for him. But Ron Rivera ain't called the defense in 15 years. Okay? And you want to bring him on to ours, okay, because you didn't plan. And I got it right on here. When you fail to plan, what do? You plan to fail. Okay. How do I know this? Mike McDonald got the job with the Seattle Seahawks Wednesday, I think. This afternoon, he made Leslie Frazier his DC. I guarantee you he didn't call him today and offer him that job. I bet you when he knew he was in the running and had a good idea that he was going to be the head coach, he made some phone calls and said, hey, I'm gonna tab Leslie for my DC. I'm gonna tab so-and-so for my defensive line coach. I'm gonna tab so-and-so for my linebackers coach. I'm gonna tab so-and-so for my secondary coach, passing game coordinator, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna tab so-and-so for my special teams coach. He already had a plan in mind. So 2 days after the phone calls made, he flying to Seattle, he getting all the stuff in it, and he already got his people made. Meanwhile, we've been knowing for weeks that Dan Quinn might not come back, and I guarantee we ain't made a single phone call. So that means you got to dig from the bottom of the pile, okay? You got to sift through has-beens and retreads instead of the young up-and-coming dudes that are, you know, the new things that are going on, the new offenses that are going on. They know how to defend it. You know, that kind of thing. So yeah, we're not ran with the precision when the football operation that every other part of the organization ran with. Because I guarantee you that building and that whole the star and the whole forward center, all that stuff, I guarantee you the plans on that stuff went according to plan and they didn't deviate from it one bit. Everything was on schedule. I bet you they didn't sacrifice none of the to make something. No, everything will go because we got billions of dollars riding on this, right? And I guarantee you everything was on the square on that. But when it comes to the football, the thing that actually makes the money that all this is possible, that you want to leave that, you want to do that yourself? You want to run that yourself? I liken it to, let's say you got two millionaires, okay? And they bought a piece of land. I was talking to my coworker about this, and he laughed at me. He said, yeah, man, you hit that right on the head. You got two millionaires. They both bought like 15 acres of land, right? And they're going to build a house. Okay. Now, you're a millionaire, so you got money, okay? So one millionaire says, look, man, I'm out of my element here. I'm going to hire me a contractor, and and they're going to come in, and they're going to build it to the certain specs. And I'm going to tell them, I'm going to give them my suggestions, but they're going to build it to my specs. So much square footage. I want my ceilings this high. I want my foundations like this. I want my ceilings like this. I want my roofs like this. My windows crafted like this, and the woodwork and stuff carved like this. That's what I want. The expert will go into the thing, and he'll come out, and that thing will be. But then you got the other owner who's like, shoot, man, I always thought I could build. I'm going to build my house myself. And then both of them are built side by side. And one guy got his and he's building his. And when they get finished, you got one that's precision. He's showing his off in home and garden. Okay? It's being shown on the, what's those channels on cable where they show with the twin guys are showing the houses and stuff. They're showing on that. Meanwhile, the house next door, the roof is leaking because you don't know nothing about building no houses. You just doing it because you want to do it, okay? Because you don't want to spend the money to hire somebody to do the job right. You want to do it. And then the foundations is cracked. Floors ain't even. Paint is flicking because you don't paint for real, but you thought you'd want to paint. And the other owners looking at you and they said, man, God bless you for wanting to do that yourself, man. I could never have done that, man. But God bless you for having the courage to go and build that yourself. But in his back of his mind, said, man, that ish looks like a monstrosity that you got built there. That's what I think the other owners think of Jerry when they go to the owners meeting. Because they say, yeah, man, you brave, man, to do all that stuff yourself, to be the GM yourself and do all that stuff yourself. Man, I hired somebody. Man, you're brave to do that. In the back of their mind, they say, you a daggum fool for doing that yourself. That's why your stuff ain't working out the way it should. Because you're trying to do it yourself instead of hiring experts to do the job. Okay? All right? So there's my little take on that. But he's insisting on doing it the way he wants to do it. Okay? So that's the problem. That's the problem right there. Keep all the notes. No defense prepared for the Green Bay fan. Okay, I'm gonna get to that. So that was my thing, and here's another thing. I will talk about this too. Also, when I heard about Seattle and Mike McDonald, I mean, just like this, that you can tell somebody that's got a plan. Okay. And Mike McDonald seems to be a good defensive mind. I mean, he's only like 34, 35, 36 years old, man. But his defenses have been on point, man. And so we're going to see, and Seattle has a lot of defensive pieces to work with, man. We'll see what he's able to do over there. But he went ahead and got his defensive coordinator in place. And probably the next couple of days, you'll see who he's tapped for all those other positions. Now, in the same crawl that I found about what Seattle was doing, I found out something about New Orleans. And that struck my fancy too, because I was watching it and I said, oh, New Orleans, because right after the season, they fired their offensive coordinator. And if you followed New Orleans this year, because I follow all of football, NFL, I watch all that stuff, right? You knew that they made a free agent splash. They went and got Derek Carr, okay? Now, Derek Carr, to me, is like maybe in the same neighborhood as Dak Prescott. I think Dak may be a little better than him, a little bigger, a little stronger, a little better arm. whatever. But I think they're in the same neighborhood, right? New Orleans gave him virtually the same contract Dak got. I think I got it right here. I pulled it up so you wouldn't think your boy was lying to you. Okay. Derek Carr got a 4-year, $150 million contract. He got a $28 million signing bonus and $100 million of it guaranteed. Okay. Sound about like what Dak got, right? Okay. All right. So we saw the year they had. A lot of people, including your boy, Uncle Fred, I thought New Orleans was going to be one of them playoff teams. I had them win 11 to 12 games. I'm like, okay, they got a quarterback. Okay. They got pieces. They got Alvin Kamara. They got Williams. I think it's Jamal Williams. They got him from Detroit. They got Chris Olave. They got Mike. I won't say Mike Roberts. Mike. God, I can't think of his name. Went to Ohio State too. And then they got Taysom Hill, little jack of all trades, do all kinds of things. They got a team with some firepower, defensive level. They're gonna win 11, 12 games. They stumbled and end up going, I think, 8-9 and missed the playoffs. So you knew some heads was gonna roll because they didn't invest $150 million in the quarterback. Okay. And they made changes. Okay. So they fired the offensive coordinator. I'm not sure what the name of the guys that they fired, but they fired him. Okay. Well, I saw on the crawl today they hired Clint Kubiak. And if anybody don't know who Clint Kubiak is one of the little wonder kids that hung around because they the second generation kids. They hung around with Kyle Shanahan. All of them dudes was on that Washington Redskins staff back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. Because Clint Kubiak is the son of who? Gary Kubiak. Okay, Gary Kubiak, and because Shanahan was the coach of them Denver Broncos teams, and Kubiak was like his offensive coordinator and stuff, right? So Kyle Shanahan and Clint Kubiak is like the second generation of that. So they all learned on the same tree. You see how this is going? Okay. He was the San Francisco 49ers passing game coordinator. He was that this year. That guy, you know who that guy was last year? Bobby Slowick. That was that guy last year. What did he do over in Houston this year? Got the Houston Texans, which won 4 games, and had them, what they win, like 11 games this year? Weren't they 11-6 or 10-7? We won the division. Offense was, explosive with a rookie quarterback. Okay. So they are scheming up their quarterback so that their stuff, because if you watch New Orleans play this year, their offense was like anemic, throwing all this underneath stuff. Nothing. So we're going to get some of this modern offenses. We're going to find one of these guys that's running these offenses that we have problems stopping, and we're going to bring him in to run our offense. Okay? Meanwhile, you keep sending Dak out with the same tired, stale offense, same predictable routes, same little curl routes, that everybody in the building know they're running it. Okay? That's how routes get jumped because they know what's coming. Okay? You can make an argument that, okay, maybe the quarterback shouldn't have thrown them, but most of the time you see them offenses that those guys run, them routes be wide open. You know why they're wide open? Because they run a certain thing called misdirection, and there's motion, and there's bunch sets, because they want to keep the defense off balance. They want to keep the defense guessing. Oh, I wonder what they're running on this play, because all of the formations look the same, but they run about 15 different plays off the same formation, so you don't know what's coming. Okay? That's one of the dudes I would have hired. I would have called them. Hey, man, look, man, what an offensive coordinator? What does an offensive coordinator get? Maybe like $800,000. Look, man, we'll give him $1.5 million a year. Come help our offense. Come in and help. What's his name? Schottenheimer. Come and help Schottenheimer and put together our offense for us. Okay. That's what I would have done. Okay. Watch the difference that the New Orleans offense makes next year. I'm going to be watching it. I want y'all to watch that too. Watch what their offense looks like next year under Clint Kubiak and see what implementation of different things that they do and see how much their offense differs next year from what they was able to do this year. Okay. So those are the kind of things I was talking about, right? So yeah, if you don't plan, if you don't plan, you fail. You plan to fail. Okay. Okay. So, anyway, that just lets me know we are a raggedly, and that's not even a word, ran franchise, because we'll just throw anything at the football operation where everything else is like state of the art. I guarantee he spared no expenses on building that 80-yard jumbotron that hangs over AT&T. I bet they ain't spared no expenses on that. I bet they didn't hire one jackleg contractor for that. I bet everybody that they hired, they came with references and said, whatever guy that did that the best in all of the stadium, that's the guy they picked. Okay? I guarantee you, Jerry didn't go up the daggum ladder and try to hook that stuff up. Oh, man. All right. So anyway, yeah, we ain't looking another one of those dudes, So we ain't not gonna hire some of them dudes. So why do I say we're a raggedy ran franchise? This is why I say that. Okay. We get owned in every trade we try to make because the guys just don't have the savvy that these other guys do. That's why we'll give up on Amari Cooper for a 5th round pick, while we'll give up a 4th round pick for a quarterback that never seen the field. Okay. And nobody else was giving less than a 6th, more than a 6th. We gave up a 4th. That's a 4th round pick we could use this year. Okay. Okay. And who knows, that dude might, with some quarterback school, might even be a serviceable quarterback. We don't know. But what I'm saying is, we get owned on all the trades. Now, we made 2 good trades in the offseason last year, but it was two teams that was trying to make some changes. It was trying to go young. They was trying to, and they were willing to, and it didn't cost us anything. It cost us the 2, what do you call those picks that we get when we lose a free agent? We gave up 2 of those picks, a 5th rounder and a 6th rounder for Cooks and Gilmore. Okay. We had given both of those picks and we got those guys. But here's the thing. We don't play the free agency game. See, but every other team in the league does that. Okay. Because you can't get all of your players in the draft. You know why we like to get all our players in the draft? You know why? Because drafted players are what? Cheaper. Okay. Never seen a team worth as much money as ours is that always try to do things on the cheap. And I mean that and if we get a free agent, we're going to get a plug player. We'll get a Jaron Curse. Okay. We'll get somebody like that. Okay. We'll get a Malik Hooker. Guy was coming off an Achilles tear that we can get cheap. Yeah, we'll get a guy like that. We'll get a Jonathan Hankins, who's been instrumental in our offense, but he's a plug guy. $1 million a year. Okay. But we don't get difference makers when we go to the draft, when we go to free agency. So when he's talking about we all in, that's what you mean, all in. We're going to get difference makers. Okay. We're going to get guys that make a difference. And don't get me wrong. Stephon Gilmore is a great player, and we wouldn't have had the success we had defensively without him. But let's not get it twisted. He's not a difference maker. He's not the cornerback we would have got from Chicago. What's his name? Jalen Johnson, who's 25 years old. That's every bit as good as Diggs or whatever. That's a difference maker. But that's what would have required you to make an investment. Okay, we ain't make that. Gilly didn't cost us anything. That's basically like somebody handing them to you. Okay, I don't know anybody that's gonna turn down free money that they're gonna stick it in your pocket. No, I'd rather earn it. No, you take it. Same thing with Cooks. Okay, the Houston Texans was trying to give him up. Okay, because they're on the youth parade right now. They went and drafted them Tank Dell, and they got Nico Collins, So they got younger receivers. So they didn't need 17, 18 million dollar guys. So, but they paid some of his freight. I think they paid 12 of it. Okay. So we end up getting, don't get me wrong, I love Brandon Cooks. Okay. He's a good receiver, but he's not a difference maker. Okay. He's not a difference maker. He's not a guy you can put on there. He's your automatic number one. No, he's a good complementary receiver. And I hope we get him back. I hope we take him back because I think he's good in our offense, but he's not a difference maker. Okay. So we don't do that. We don't get difference makers in the thing. We like to get our guys because you got to pay for guys in the free agency. And we get plug players. We hire unimaginative coaches that either don't inspire or constantly have us in schematic disadvantages, meaning they can't scheme the thing up. We get out coached in games. That's why we don't do well against teams that are better teams. Because over the last 3 years, or really over the last several years, you notice how our record against winning teams is not good. And that goes way back before that was at quarterback. Okay, it's because you got a schematic advantage disadvantage because what good teams have. They have good coaching staffs. Okay, the bad teams usually have bad coaching staffs. Yeah, you can beat a New England that's beat down and whatnot and has no offense. Yeah, you can beat the Giants. Okay, you can beat them. Okay, you can beat Washington. Okay, you can beat them. You can beat the Jets that don't have a quarterback. Okay, you can beat them. But then when you're playing Baltimore or Buffalo or playing Miami, it's a little different because those guys have good coaches. Okay, so you're at a schematic disadvantage. So when you're playing better teams and the talent level is equal, the coaching makes a difference. So you can't run this rudimentary, unimaginative schemes. That's why when we play Green Bay, you do know Matt LaFleur is a Kyle Shanahan disciple, right? Okay, and we had no answers for them. Okay, no answers, none for them. Okay, because it's a good coach. Okay, same thing when we played San Francisco. Same thing if we played Miami. Okay, same thing we played Buffalo. Okay, well-coached teams. Okay, with good personnel. Okay, we got good personnel too, but we ain't exactly schemed as well as them. So that's why we run up short against them. And I know it's easy to blame Dak, but when you throwing passes that everybody know where you're going with the football, a little harder to complete that pass as opposed to, their dudes is wide open. One of the Green Bay Packers guys was more open than anybody been in any part this year. That tight end was open more. Dak ain't never seen a guy that open this year. Okay? I'm just saying. Okay? We hire unimaginative coaches that either don't inspire or leave us at a schematic disadvantage. Okay? Micah said as much, on his little podcast, The Edge. But I want to talk about something I heard today on a let me see who I got in the chat here. Let me see. Jerry has too much control. Amen to that. Jerry looks beat down with his micromanagement. Green Bay defense was prepared to play Dallas. Because you know what you do when you prepare for teams, Roland? You watch a little film, you get prepared. It didn't look like we watched a stitch of film for that game. Okay? It's almost like we felt like we was just going to beat them when we got to play either Detroit or the Rams the next week. We ain't even worried about them or playing Tampa Bay or whatever. We ain't worried about them, We'll be more like 8-9 wins. Maybe. It all depends. Let me get back on track, and I'm gonna ask y'all some questions here about some stuff. Since I got a few people in here with me tonight, man, I appreciate you guys. So I was listening to a podcast today, a YouTube channel called The Cowboys Huddle. It's a little small YouTube channel like mine, a lot of times I'll watch some other small things like that and give them some encouragement because they're just like me, Just trying to, just trying to, it's one man operation, just trying to, trying to forge their way in this thing, right? And so he had some things on there. He was talking about different things. He was talking about, and he had a question. He says now, he brought up a clip that where what's the guy's on Speak? I can't think of his name. He was talking about Brock Purdy's going to get paid now because 2 years. He started 2 years, and he's got his team in the NFC Championship game 2 years, and Emmanuel Ocho, and he's going to get paid and stuff like that. And so he's probably going to get paid a good amount of money. Okay. And so the question got raised, like, well, do you think he's a better quarterback than Dak Prescott? And so he was like, well, I mean, if you look at the results, you would say, yeah. And if you were short-sighted, you would say, yeah. But then you would say, well, does Dak have the same roster that he has? Now, you could say, well, he's got a better roster because he's only making $800,000 a year. Fair. That's fair. Okay. That's fair. Okay. But by the same token, because, since he's been making that $800,000, what kind of players that they went and got? Okay. They went and got a Christian McCaffrey, went and got a Javon Hargrave. They went and got a Chase Young. They got a whole bunch of other players. They got a bunch of players that's making a lot of money too. Fred Warner makes a lot of money. He's making like $20-25 million a year. Kittle is making a lot of money. Christian McCaffrey is making a lot of money. Deebo Samuel's making a lot of money. Trent Williams is making a lot of money. So they got a bunch of high-earning guys, too. So it's not like they and trust me, if Javon Hargrave left the Eagles, he didn't leave there for no $6 million a year. He left there for, what quality pass rushers and defensive end pass rushers, they make good money. So, but they were able to load up the thing because they got a quarterback on a rookie contract. Tell me the first free agent we signed to a high dollar amount that loaded the clip. Them 4 years Dak was making $400,000 a year. And I'll wait on you. I'll wait. Because they didn't do it. What they did do, they felt like, well, he comes in with a good offensive line because, you had Tyron Smith. But, Tyron Smith was often injured because then he hadn't played a full season since 2015, which was the year before Dak got here. You had Tyron Smith, you had Zach Martin, you had Travis Frederick. But Travis Frederick left after 2018. With Wilkes-Barre, I think it's Guillain-Barre syndrome, whatever, nervous system thing. And he couldn't play. He could play now, but he's retired, right? And then you had Dez Bryant, who played one season after that. And so the next season, they came in with Allen Hurns, Terrence Williams, and Deontay, I think it's Deontay Williams. Bunch of dudes, bunch of nobody receivers. Then you had Witten, okay? But Witten ended up leaving that next year too, okay? And then coming back. Whatever, okay? So did you really, aside from getting Amari Cooper, did you really load up and get a couple of good defensive guys? Because you had money to do so because you was only paying Dak $400,000. You had money to do that, okay? And you had Zeke on a rookie contract for about 2.5, 3 years, okay? So you had all this excess money. What did you do with it, okay? Now, while the Eagles had Jalen on a rookie contract, you know what they did? They went and got Darius Slay. They went and got James Bradbury. They went and got Hassan Reddick. Okay. They went and got A.J. Brown. Okay. They went and got guys. Okay. While we ain't got to pay Jalen. Okay. That way, while he's not making money, we can field a good team around him. As he gets better, some of these guys can go on to free agency to other teams because he's better. He's good enough to play without having a superstar team. There's two ways that teams, because basically, if you look at the Super Bowl that's played this year, you got two teams that went about building their teams two entirely different ways. This to let you know there's more than one way to skin a cat. Okay, you got one team that basically got I got a superhero with a cape on that basically I can take average receivers, a decent offensive line, and I can win games because I'm that guy. I'm the best player in the NFL, and I can win a game by myself. Okay, now unless you get you one of them guys, because I know everybody wants Dak to be that guy. He's not that guy. Nobody in the league is that guy. Joe Burrow's not that guy. Josh Allen isn't that guy, or he'd have won more than 3 playoff games. He's not that guy. Okay? Patrick is that guy. He got 14 playoff wins. It's 27. Okay? That team is not as talented as the team they beat in Baltimore. Okay? They beat them because they got that guy. Okay? And he just flips the script. Okay? That's one way you could build a team. Or you can build the way the 49ers built theirs. We got a serviceable quarterback, but the team is so good around him and the scheme is so good around him, it makes him, it makes it where this team with a random quarterback with good supporting cast is in the Super Bowl. And this other team has a superstar quarterback and average players around him. They got a good defense, though, but they're in the Super Bowl. Okay? So at some point, we got to pick a lane. We got to pick a lane. We got to either pick, okay, we got Dak. If we're gonna be married to Dak, okay, then we got to play as though, we got, and he don't have to have as much help as some of them other guys have, but I don't know. He might need to have better receivers than he's got. I don't know. Maybe he should have a running game. At some point in the game when they got 9, they dropping back and 6 men in the coverage or whatnot, and they running 2 high safeties, and I can't hand it to the running back, and he getting stuffed in the backfield against a 6-man front, and I can't run the ball because you don't want to go you don't want to go pay for a running back. Okay. Now, if you Patrick Mahomes, no, you don't have to have a running back. You can go at it with Isaiah Pacheco, a 7th-round pick. Okay, but even Jalen Hurts had Miles Sanders, who's a 1,000-yard rusher, and this year he had I can't think of his name. They got from Detroit. I can't think of his name. But if I want to just run it, I can run it. When they got in trouble, they just ran the ball. Okay, Dak didn't have that luxury. Okay, when they in 2 high safety, you got 2 safeties 20 yards off the line of scrimmage, you basically running against a 7-man front, 6-man, 7-man front. You should be able to run the football on that consistently. I think Tony Pollard had one 100-yard game this season, and no other game did he have over 75 yards. Just things to think about while we beating the quarterback up. Oh, he should have done more. But what position was he put in? Okay. Did they execute the offense with Tony Pollard how they should have? Or did they decide, well, we paid him $10 million, we're gonna make him a jack of all trades? And I think they're doing the same thing with Dak. Hey man, we paying you $40 million. We ain't gotta give you no help. Figure it out. No, we're not gonna hire you no imaginative coach. We're gonna hire the 3rd less paid coach in the league. He makes about $4 million a year. There's coordinators that make more than Mike McCarthy. I want y'all to know that. And you just figure it out, man. Since you want to take $40 million, but Derek Carr is making $38 million. Daniel Jones is making $40 million. Okay, all the quarterbacks that are veteran level quarterbacks that's got that you can put on a team and he won't stink the game up are making about $40 million. That's the price of doing business. That's what it costs to do business. It's what it costs. No standard level veteran quarterback is Kirk Cousins sent a thing to the Minnesota Vikings saying, he'll take a 2-year deal for $90 million, which is $45 million, a totally fully guaranteed deal, which is $45 million, fully guaranteed per year. Okay, that's the going rate. That's what you gotta pay. Okay, it boggles my mind how fans think that players are making too much money, but they got no problems with the amount of money that the owners pocket. They have no problem. They got a problem with Dak Prescott making $35-40 million a year, but they have no problem with Jerry Jones charging $29 for a hot dog at his facility. Well, they got to pay those salaries. No, he don't have to, because Arthur Blanks ain't charging that. Talk to somebody that went to an Atlanta Falcons game and see how much you pay for concessions. $20, man, you can buy a meal for like 2-3 people. At AT&T, that'll buy you a drink and maybe a hot dog. Maybe. Okay? You don't have a problem with him charging $20, $25 for a hot dog, or $17 for a beer. You ain't got no problem with that. But the guy that actually makes the money that allows this whole thing to work, you want them to play for pennies. Sorry, man, it's tight, but it's right. You know I'm right. Y'all want them to play for pennies. Okay? Because why do you play? Why do you go to the games? You go to the games to watch these guys play football. Okay? Because they do something nobody else can do. There's 1,500 dudes in the NFL out of 320 million people in the country. And they get paid what they get paid because they do something the average guy can't do. That's why they get paid. But the owners would love it if they all make league minimum. Everybody makes $750,000 a year while we pocket all this money. TV deals and up in the billions. Oh, but we're not going to pay y'all but $800,000 a year. We're going to pocket all this money. Come on, man. I never understood how fans would back billionaires over the millionaires. I never understood that. Never understood that. Never understood it. Never understood it. Okay. So yeah. And then so if we all in, the first thing we got to do, we got to restructure Dak's contract. Because his salary cap implication this year is $59 million. Now, all the people that don't understand salary cap are saying, we paying Dak Prescott $50. No, we're paying him $34 million. His contract was 4 years, $160 million, with $126 million of it guaranteed. But because they had to adjust it for different things, you got a balloon payment. Like if you do something, if you refinance your loan, you get a balloon payment somewhere in there because they adjusted it. Okay, they went and took money out of here and put that there. You got to go. There's cap implications when you do that. So the cap implication this year is $59 million, even though he's only getting $34 million of that. Okay, that's why that is. Okay, but if you restructure his deal, you'll save about $25 or $30 million. So that's what they're gonna have to do. Take that 20 or 30 extra million. They'll go to Zach Martin and flip some switches on him and get about $15 million. They'll flip some switches on Diggs, save about $10-15 million. They'll do some stuff with they'll go ahead and extend CeeDee Lamb, go ahead and give him his money, because give him his $28 million a year over 5 years or whatever. It'll be 100 and whatever million, but you can prorate that where it only counts you about $9-10 million this year. You'll end up about $60 million in salary cap savings. Now, the proof is what you do with that $60 million. Okay. Now, what I would do, come March 13th, I'm going to get Patrick Quinn because I need a linebacker, and I'm drafting me one. I'm gonna make me a run at Saquon Barkley if he don't want stupid money. If not, I'll go with Derrick Henry, and then I'm gonna draft me one. Okay. Third, I'll go see what Cincinnati, what DJ Reader, that big defensive lineman they got, because we need bigger dudes on our defensive line, what they want for him. Then I draft me one in like the third round. Okay. then you might be all in. Okay? That's what I would do with that $60-65 million. But you know what they're going to do? They're going to take a good bit of it to pay. They're going to pay some people that you don't want paid. Okay? They're gonna take some of that money and they're gonna give a bunch of it to Tyler Biadasz, who I say needs to come off the team and let somebody else pay him $20 million a year. Because I see him getting beat at the line of scrimmage too much. And go draft you Jackson Powers Johnson, I think is his name, from Oregon. Go draft him. Go draft you a center. Okay? Who's gonna be just as good as him. Okay? Or they're gonna pay Dorrance Armstrong, $15 million or $8 million, $10 million when you could just let him walk. Okay. But they won't because they drafted him. Okay. We got pass rushers all up and down the thing. Okay. They'll pay guys that are hurt. See, that's how they get over too, because they pay dudes that shouldn't be getting paid. It's like they went and paid Terrence Steele an exorbitant amount of money when he was hurt. And now he comes back and he's a shell of himself, but he's making $82 million over 4 years or whatever. I would have waited to see. I would have paid him like 4 years and like maybe $40 million, or 3 years and like $25 million, and with a contract where he would seen what he looked like after he got back from getting an ACL tear. Okay. See, we do stupid things and paying people we shouldn't pay. And then there ain't enough money to do the things we should be doing with it. Again, that's how we ran. Okay? That's how we ran. So, let who walk to Cleveland? Talking about Biadasz? No, he don't need to walk to Cleveland. Jerry had a chance to get Derrick Henry. Oh, he could have got Derrick Henry before the trade deadline. Before the end of the season. And it wouldn't have cost you anything. Because his salary for the year had already been paid by Tennessee. Okay? They just released him. He could have got him for the playoffs. Same thing, you could have got Dalvin Cook. But they didn't want to do it. Okay? Okay? This thing should, about Jerry keeping them relevant. Yeah, that's it. He wants to keep them relevant. Relevance is more than winning. That's why, his thing is right now, the Super Bowl is being played next Sunday, but they're talking about us as much as they're talking about the two participants. The only thing that's keeping the Kansas City Chiefs more relevant than the Cowboys right now is the Taylor Swift content of it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be, supposedly she made about $331 million for the NFL this year, which I found amazing. But she got a following, man. She got a following. And the NFL taking full advantage of that, as they should, as they should. Okay. But anyway, let's talk about this right quick. We're gonna close off here. No, you're right, Roland. Dak cannot cover the team with lesser quality components. Now, I'm gonna say this. Now, I'm not gonna say Dak is above reproach. Now, I'm not that guy. There's some things he could do better. Because one of the things that drives me crazy about Dak is how he takes sacks in the most inopportune times when you could have done something different. It's like he has a brain freeze. I know I'm stressing over something because that happened in the Green Bay game when it was 14-0 and we were driving. We was like on the 35-yard line. And if he just throws the ball away, we kick a field goal, it's 14-3. Maybe it makes us feel a little bit different about how the game, because you never know how a certain thing in the game changes the momentum of the game, changes how you feel, changes the emotional content of the game. Like the Detroit game. If Dan Campbell don't go for that stupid 4th and 3, maybe the San Francisco, and they kick that field goal and they go up 27-10, and it totally erases that 3 points that the 49ers had to scratch and claw to get just a couple of minutes before. That field goal would have basically made that not like it didn't happen. You would be amazed how that would have affected the psyche of the 49ers. How a certain thing follows another thing, how it affects how you the confidence and maybe they wouldn't even tried that long pass to Ayuk that actually was a bad throw. It should have been picked. Okay. But maybe because Dak took the ball, he got pressure, rolled out to the right, and he's out of the pocket, just throw the thing out of bounds and saved the field goal. But he got sacked, and they didn't want to take the 57-yard field goal, so they punted. What did Green Bay do? They punted it, and they got it on 3. And I'm like, well, shoot, at least they got bad field position. Well, shoot. They drove 97 yards and went ahead 20-0. Now it's like not a ball game anymore. Who knows if we kick that field goal and it's 14-3, maybe it would have given us a little bit of confidence. But then us having to punt on that after we done drove down to the 30 and the most successful drive we had up to that point, and we had to punt. You know how downtrodden you feel after that? Dang, we had like a 9-play drive and had to end up punting. This is things like that, So, like I said, Dak is not above reproach, and I'm not saying, but I'm not saying that. And people want to say, well, Patrick Mahomes, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen, and Josh Allen ain't done it. Got like 3 playoff wins, maybe 4. Dak got 2. He's been playing almost as long as Dak's been playing. I think he came in 18, 17, or 18. Dak came in 16. They've been playing almost the same long time. Mojo. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That mojo. He had that mojo. That mojo is, momentum is a funny thing, man. They can't explain it. And you see it in every sport. How a play gets made here, and it's sort of like it gives that team life, and the momentum shifts. Because you notice when he went for them 4th downs in that Detroit, San Francisco game, the momentum just kind of like shifted. You could just feel it. It just shifted, And you don't, and it's amazing how just one play here would change the whole course of a whole game, right? So, but here's what I want to talk about, and we're gonna get off of here. So we got to change DCs, right? We got to hire some DC, and you know how I just expressed my pissed offity. That's not even a word. My irritation, if you will, with how we went about doing this whole thing. Okay. Yeah, and in addition to that, there's something to say about no, Dak can't not cover that he's not able to overcome the ineptness of our front office, because our front office, so when somebody offers us a deal on a trade, they'll not answer the phone. Yeah, we can't. He's not good enough to overcome that stupidity, or whatever, or that apathy, whatever. But anyway, we gotta select us and we should really have already done that, because if it's somebody that's going to run a different defense than the one we're running, then we gotta get in the draft. We gotta be at this Senior Bowl. They play the East-West Shrine game today. We gotta find, maybe to put together another scheme, we might need different players. We might not have the players to fit the scheme of whatever dude we got coming. Now, the thing is, what folks didn't understand, like, we'll just promote Joe Witt, which would be a good thing. But I was listening to Mike Fisher today. Mike Fisher, CowboysSI.com. I always cite the podcast or the YouTube channel where I get information from, if it's something I didn't research myself. So there's that. But he says, oh, it's okay, man. I'm getting the Zimmer, man. I'm getting to the Zim dog. But here's the thing, man. Did you ever think that maybe Dan Quinn might take Joe Witt with him? Might take Al Harris with him? Okay? The reason I say that is because the atmosphere we have created is sort of like a sinking ship. You got a coach on basically a lame duck contract. So you're asking a defensive coordinator to come in and attach himself to what might be a 1-year deal. So even though I'm a, say, defensive, like, quality control guy, for another team, or I'm a linebackers coach for this other team, and I might not make but $600,000 a year, or $700,000 a year, and that's peanut money in the NFL. That's great money for me. So I could retire off of that, man, and not have to work again if I made that every year, whatever, But in the coaching realm, that ain't no money, all right? But at least I know I got a 2, 3, 4 year deal, as opposed to I could go here and make $900,000 and I might be gone after that. Have to get back in the job market. Okay. So if you Joe Witt, I could take that defensive coordinator's job, but what if Mike McCarthy gets fired the next year? Wouldn't you think the next coach would want to hire his own DC? Because that's kind of, but you know what? I'm sorry. That's the way that's the way well-run organization. I don't even know why I said that. My fault, man. My fault. And if you Joe Witt, why would you not? Because you got an opportunity to go to Washington and you can kind of start from scratch. You got about 3, 4 years that you can kind of put your defensive philosophy in play. You can kind of, paint your own canvas. As opposed to painting one somebody already messed it up. I'm just saying, if you Joe Witt, and I heard him talking, and everybody says, man, he's but he's never called the defense either. So if you're the Joneses, and I'm not campaigning for the Joneses, but if we got 1 year, or if you Mike McCarthy, and you got 1 year to save your job, would you want to trust your 1 year to a dude that never called the defense before on that side of the football? So if you notice, most of the defensive coordinators that they've hired have been head coaches before. So that's somebody that you can train. That's something Mike Fisher. But I thought about that. I said, yeah, that, and basically a lot of the guys we've had before, be it Dan Quinn, Rob Marinelli, he's on that ill-fated Detroit team that went 0-16. You know that, right? He was a head coach before. Okay. So yeah. I think Mike Nolan was a head coach before, somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. And so we end up getting Dan Quinn. And some of the guys they're looking at, Ron Rivera's been a head coach before, but he's an old dude. He's like 60, 62, 63, 64. I like him as a dude, man. Don't get me wrong, because I think he's a passionate dude. I think the dudes love playing for him, but I think his schemes are antiquated. And I think he hasn't called plays since 2010, something like that. And just like your offensive coordinator or your play caller probably hadn't called plays since like 2017. All right. So you kind of want somebody that's sort of modern, right? So whereas I like Ron Rivera, I don't know if that'd be my first call, but they didn't bust them a phone call, okay? Because they have been left with these candidates, okay? Because they let Dan Quinn drag this thing out to the last minute. So now they got to dig from the bottom of the barrel, where the trash and stuff is at. I'm not calling these guys trash. I'm just saying, when you get down to the bottom, that's where all the trash is. The good stuff is up at the top, right? So Ron Rivera, okay. So another guy that I would like them to look at, now he's never been a head coach before, but I love him as a coordinator. I would love them to take a shot at Wink Martindale. I like Wink Martindale because he's got some exotic blitz schemes. I think he could do some crazy things with Micah Parsons. Okay. But in order to run his schemes, with the blitzing things that you run, you got to have good cover corners. Bing! We got good cover corners, especially if Trayvon comes back and he's at least 90% of what he was before. But I'll be careful about bringing him back early. You know how we like to bring guys back early after ACL injuries. And then you got, Bland in the slot, and you got Gilly on the other side. If they sign him back, you got good cover corners that you could blitz. And if they get there quick enough, he runs a lot of exotic blitzes that, like, it takes a while for you to figure out what the heck he's doing. He's like a mad scientist with that thing, right? I wouldn't mind seeing him, but would he come and take a deal where you based it on a 1 year deal sort of thing? He's unemployed right now because he didn't get a job. So, but some of these other DC jobs had not been selected yet because Washington could get him, and maybe he could be like a position coach for Seattle or some of these other teams that haven't filled out their roster yet. But I like Wink Martindale. If it was all things was equal, I would take Wink Martindale. He'd be my first pick because I think he can do some things. Okay. I'm gonna tell you somebody else I like, but you might not like. I like Brandon Staley. Now I heard some other people say, well, no, I don't like him as a head coach. But if you saw some of them, those Los Angeles Rams defenses that they had when he was, them defenses was hard to, and those defenses were very good against them Shanahan offenses. Okay, so he's sort of a younger head coach where someone has some of the younger ideas and stuff. I would give Brandon Staley a phone call, just kind of see where his head is at. That's a guy I would pick amongst those guys. Okay. Leslie Frazier is a guy I would have got, but Mike McDonald beat us to him because he started his work early. And then you get down to some of the other guys, like to hear what Roland Estrada says, the old white guy. And I don't want to sound like, hey man, look, man, Wink Martindale's an old white guy, and whatever. But I think he's a good coach. But what I think, and I'm with you, Roland, it'll probably be. No, Jerry's not comfortable with new thinking coaches, but I'm gonna tell you another thing that Jerry's got, the problem that he's got. And this is a Mike Fisher thing. What he said, they're not comfortable with first time play callers on defense, and I kind of agree with them on that because it's different when you calling positional things. Hey, I need you to do this one, and you're calling the plays for the entire defense. Yeah, they kind of want somebody that's done it before. And then in their case, they want somebody that's ran the whole organization before, So, and Mike Zimmer kind of feels that. He's an older white dude. I think he's like 57. That's almost my age, man. Shut the heck up. That ain't old. Yeah, it kind of is. But he's been a head coach before. I was watching Okoye Media. If you ever want some good insight on film study, go subscribe to Okoye Media. That's AKOY OKAYO. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's how you spell it. Okoye, excuse me. Media and YouTube. Good stuff, man. So I was watching that today, and he showed some different things that Mike Zimmer was doing, and he's a friend of the Joneses. I didn't know he started coaching there in '94, right? Right after the Super Bowl years, and I think he was on that staff that won the last Super Bowl in '95. He was on that staff, and so I think they start running some 3-4 stuff, and he didn't want to run that, so he left and went some other places. He ended up being a DC at Cincinnati, and I noticed a lot of our players went there, and then he ended up being the head coach at Minnesota after that. And I can't think of the name of the cornerback. I can't think of the cornerback we drafted. They ended up going to Cincinnati, and he ended up going to Minnesota also because but he was just going into detail about some of the exotic schemes that Mike Zimmer runs, and to say he's all in favor of having bigger linebackers, and he'll have you're not gonna have these little mini guy linebackers playing safety playing linebacker that Dan Quinn was running. But he's sort of a retread, and he's kind of been helping Dion in Colorado as an advisor and stuff like that. I mean, he's still in football right now. Yeah, it probably should be McCarthy's call. True. But if it was McCarthy's call, I'm not sure I would hire a guy that never called a defense before. If it's like, hey man, if I got one shot my life on the line, who would you want shooting? Would you want somebody that never shot a shot before but knew how to play, or would you want Steph Curry taking that shot? Somebody's made that shot before. So if it's one shot for your life, I want somebody that's done the thing before. But I am, again, I'm with you. I think that should be McCarthy's call. But then again, Mike McCarthy is not in a position of strength here because he's on a 1-year deal. He's sort of like a lame duck. He kind of ain't in a position of strength right now. So, it's just what it is, man. It's just what it is. Okay. But anyway, if I had my thing, I would go. Wink Martindale. He'd be my first guy. I would go Brandon Staley. As far as an outside guy. But then my third choice would be Mike Zimmer. I'd be okay with Mike Zimmer being there because I know he knows the culture. He knows the guys. Guys love playing for him. But I've heard people say he's kind of a hardtail too. I've seen some footage of him or whatever and stuff. So, he gets after guys too. So, it's just he would be my first guy of the guys that the front office has a relationship with. And anyway, the last thing I want to talk about is that there's a couple guys that I mentioned one of them earlier. The Senior Bowl being played. There's a couple of guys I want y'all to look at. I'm gonna do some research on them next week, and I'm gonna give you some specifics on them. But there's a couple of guys. There's 3 dudes that I think if we get an opportunity to draft these guys, we should draft them. We got pick number 25, 24. 24, I think. I think if number 24 comes, and this guy named Peyton Wilson, who's a bad, linebacker out of North Carolina State, like 6'3", 240 pounds, runs a 4.5 40, runs sideline to sideline, busts up in the A gap, and it challenges offensive linemen and makes runs and makes tackles in the backfield. I've seen him on the right side of the field chase a guy all the way across the field, and that guy got 1 yard. He chased him all the way from one side of the field, ran like 50 yards from the field is 53 yards. He was like 4 yards from the end line and ran all the way in a straight line and got there before that guy could turn it upfield. On some of the film study I saw on him. Peyton Wilson is a guy, if he's available when we pick at 24, I would pick him. Okay. I think we need a receiver in the draft because we're going to probably not re-sign Michael Gallup. We're probably going to make him a post-June first cut. There's a guy named Xavier Leggett that's a wide receiver from South Carolina. Who's 6'3", 227 pounds, runs a 4.35 40. Big, physical. It makes you think about he's like a cross between A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuels. That's what he makes me think about. Okay. Makes all the catches, runs a route tree well. That's a guy, if he's there at 24, and somebody's already taken Peyton Wilson, that's who I would take. If those 2 dudes are took, and y'all can go do your research on them if you want. Another guy that I would like to see us take, there's a left tackle out of Arizona named Jordan Morgan. I think he's like 6'3", 335 pounds. I would like to see us take if he's available, because obviously we don't know what the status is going to be with Tyron Smith. I would love for us to sign Tyron Smith to a 1-year deal, full of incentives, but a proactive organization should draft his replacement. Okay, a guy that you could plug in there and get and whatever. So if those other 2 guys is took and Jordan Morgan is there at 24, that's who I would take. And then finally, a guy named Jackson Powers Johnson, the guy I was just talking about. He's a center from Oregon. He's also 6'3" and 335 pounds, which is sort of big for a center. But that dude is a road grader, man. And I'm just getting tired of seeing Tyler Biadasz get pushed in the backfield. And I think that's one of the reasons why our running game suffered. Some of it is Tony Pollard just not being an inside runner, but the other part is we're just not getting any push from our center. Now, when you see like the Eagles run, you see the kind of push that they get from Jason Kelce. Wouldn't you like that to be? Wouldn't you like our center to be able to line up and squat down and be able to run some of them push plays, but you're getting good push from your center? Wouldn't you like your offensive line to have that kind of luxury to be able to do that? Well, having a center, a big, strong center like that could possibly do that for you. So those are my four dudes: Peyton Wilson, um, Xavier Leggett, Jordan Morgan, and Jackson Powers Johnson. Those are my four dudes. And I'm gonna do my research and tell you all the different things and their stats and stuff when I come on next week. Now, I think we're gonna come on next Saturday. We're gonna do our picks for the Super Bowl, and I'll tell you who we're gonna pick it and why, and that sort of thing. But I was kind of hoping my guy was gonna join us today on my. I don't see him. They were gonna be 8-9. I think we'll be better than 8-9. I don't think we'll be 12-5. I don't think we'll be 8-9 though. I just don't. I think Dak Prescott is too good to go 8-8 with the talent that we got on this team. I think it's good enough to get you better than 8-8. But I don't think with the upgrading schedule that we're gonna have this year, we're playing the AFC North. We're playing the first place schedule, which means we're going to be playing, I don't know, San Francisco probably again. We'll probably be playing, I don't know, Detroit again. We'll probably be playing. Probably playing Tampa Bay. You're only going to play two of those. You don't play all four of them. So it'll probably be one of the two divisions that you'll play the division winner, and whatnot. Then you'll play all four from one other division. You'll play all four from one of the divisions because we played the NFC West this year, and then we played Detroit. I don't think we played any other. We played Detroit, and we played Carolina. Okay, so we played Detroit and Carolina, which were second place teams in two of the other divisions. Okay. Right. We played all four in the NFC West. We played all four of those teams. Okay. Then in the NFC South, we played Carolina because they finished second last year. Okay, like we did. We played Detroit in the NFC North because they finished second. Okay, this year. And that's how that's how it works, just like that. Okay. And of course, we played two teams. We played twice every team in our division. So that's kind of how the thing is rotated. Okay, it's going to be rotated just like that next year, right? And so last year, if you remember, we played the NFC North, I believe, because I do remember playing Minnesota. I do remember playing Detroit. I do remember playing Chicago, and I do remember playing Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota, and Green Bay. Okay. Last year, and then we played Minnesota. We played Minnesota, but we also played. I think we played in the NFC West. Did we play San Francisco last year? No, we didn't play San Francisco. We played Arizona. No, we didn't play Arizona. We played we played the Rams. Okay. We played the Rams, so we know we beat them out there in SoFi. And in the other division is the South. We played Tampa Bay. Remember, we played them the first game of the season and lost 19-3. Okay, so it's cyclical. It's cyclical. So we'll see. But we play a first place schedule this year, so we're gonna see how this thing works. Schedule's gonna be a murderer's row, and so we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's all I got, man. AFC East and then the West, NFC West. And then we'll play that. We'll probably play. 22, we played somebody. We played an extra game. In 21, we played New England. That was the extra game. In 22, we played Cincinnati. Okay, that we didn't play. Which we won the division the previous year, right? So we played Cincinnati last year. We played Cincinnati. So every year the standalone game is in that other division. We play the top team from that other division in the other conference. So in 2021, we played New England, didn't play nobody else in the AFC East. We played in 2022, we played Cincinnati, didn't play anybody else in the AFC North. And then last year we played the Chargers, and didn't play anybody else in the AFC West. Okay. All right. Based on where we failed the previous year in the standings in our own division. Okay. But anyway, that's all I got, man. So y'all like, comment, subscribe, become a part of the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. Guarantee you will not be disappointed. Like I said, man, share this video with some other folks. And, because I'm trying to grow this thing to be bigger and better. And, it starts with you guys. And I'm glad you guys love the channel and come on every time I come on, man. I really appreciate you guys. But tell somebody else about me, man, and tell them that Uncle Fred crazy, but he got some good content. But anyway, man, God bless, man. I'll catch you guys in the next video.